Hey everyone, this is either going to be my last video of the year or one of my first videos of the year, talking about my goals for 2023. I always have a few things that I want to get done. I have a 40 before 40 list that I have a video of, so you can definitely check that out. I also have a list that I found that's 200 books to read, probably before you die, but I want to do it before I'm 40. That's part of that 40 before 40 list. So I always have some of those goals going on. I don't think I've been making as much progress as I should on either one, but hey, we'll get there when we get there. However, this time I decided to stick with 5 different categories that I want to focus on next year and prioritize the books that I'm going to show you. The first category is series that I have one book left in. There are some of these that should have been done so long ago. It's not even funny. I have 5 books in all of these categories, 25 books, I think actually 24, but 24 books that I am going to prioritize. So if you don't start seeing these in my TBRs next year, definitely call me out. So that first category, book series with one book left. Really, this category could also be titled, "There's no excuse for not having done this already." First, I have The Wrath and the Rose by Renee Ahdieh. I read this 2 years ago, 3 years ago, maybe even, and it's a duology. So like I should have it done. I really enjoyed it. It's a great romance. I'm pretty sure it's a retelling of sorts, but it's based off a king who has to get married every night and killed the bride the next morning. And one day he decides not to. Book 2, I'm assuming, are going to be the consequences of that decision, because obviously there's some background to that choice. So yeah, I remember really loving this, and I just never got to book 2 for some reason. I also have one book left in the One Dark Throne series by Kendare Blake. I think the last book is called 5 Dark Fates. I really enjoy this series. It's a great series if you love the royals trope. It has some good magic, some good twists. Book 1, I was so bought in. Book 2 was great. Book 3 was not quite as strong as the other 2, but I don't think that has anything to do with why I didn't pick it up. I think I just struggle to finish series. I don't necessarily care about going from start to finish with a series. In fact, I think I struggle more when I try to do that. I like to take breaks and kind of mix up my reading. So I feel like sometimes I just take too long in between. Okay, this next one I feel kind of good about because I literally just read this one. So it is not one that has been sitting on my shelf in the sense that I left it too long. It is one that has been sitting on my shelf in the sense that I bought this in like 2017 and just now read it. But I took the first step. This is Rule by Ellen Goodlett. It has a beautiful cover, and it's another royals trope. We got 3 daughters who are called because a king's heir has died, and they are his illegitimate children. He's got to choose one of them. All of them have an insanely dark secret. Like, the connections that are introduced in this book are wild. Some of the wildest twists in the world, and I just cannot fathom how they are going to overcome them. And then the ending of this is literally like, I'm not going to say who, but seconds before someone is about to die. I've got to know who has done this, what is happening, who's going to take the throne, how are they going to overcome their shenanigans. It's crazy. So yeah, there's one book after this. It is called Rise. The next book is by Mary Peterson. It is called The Remnant Chronicles. The first book is The Kiss of Deception. The second book is The Heart of Betrayal. I really loved book number 1. It was one of those YA books in college that I would go back to and reread because the romance was wonderful. It's one of the few love triangles I've ever enjoyed. There was a little bit of mystery, definitely some danger, and it just all fit together so well. Book number 2, I did not like. I would say it dropped significantly. I still want to see how it ends because of my love for book number 1. Some of the characters just felt like they changed. They went from very complex to very one note, I'm in love and that's who I am. And it wasn't like that in book 1. I'm hoping it's just kind of middle book syndrome. Either way, I want to be able to say I've completed this and kind of know just where the series stands after I read that final book. Does it redeem itself or is it just not for me? And I'll keep book 1. The last is a kid series that I've picked up in the last few years by Trenton Lee Stewart, The Mysterious Benedict Society. They have wonderful covers as well. I really like the art. I've read the last 3 books, I think in recent years, and I have 1 book left in the main series. I know there's some offshoots and prequels that I don't plan on picking up. Prequels are not really my thing, but this follows a group of genius children that are trying to stop an evil man from taking over the world-ish. They have a benefactor who supports their genius nature. The puzzles and riddles are very much the kind that you can follow along and kind of, can I complete this puzzle myself? It just is very fun to kind of put yourself in their shoes and figure out what you would do in that situation. I think that's one of the things I really enjoy is following along and feeling like I'm a part of the mysteries that you find in these books. Category number 2 is series I want to make progress in. I'm not going to put pressure on myself to finish these, but I do want to prioritize the next few books. Some of them I'm farther along than others. Some of them are just massive series that who knows when I'll finish. The first one is Guards by Terry Pratchett. The next book for me is The Fifth Elephant. This follows Sam Vines and Carrot and a whole cast of characters that struggle to kind of keep their moral compass as they serve on the Night Watch. It is definitely a parody of the classic fantasy tropes. It's hilarious. It's asks some great questions. It really makes you think at times too, which is a great combination. And I want to read more of Discworld. After the Night Watch series, I want to pick up the Death series. So I really want to focus on getting as far through that Night Watch series as I can. I do have all of the Death series on my shelves as well. This is one of those where I just need to get moving. This is Mistborn Era 1, The Heroes of Ages. It is technically the last book in Mistborn Era 1, but I need to get going on the Cosmere. I have read Elantris and Warbreaker, and then the first 2 books in Mistborn Era 1, but I know that the Cosmere is enormous, and Brandon Sanderson makes progress like no other author. I feel like he sets a goal and he meets it, so he's going to keep writing faster than I'm reading at this point. I would love to get straight into Mistborn Era 2, I think, and then of course the Stormlight Archives. I also have Skyward on my shelves. I know he has some short stories in the Arcanum Unbound, so I just feel like I've got to get moving. This next one, I almost feel like I don't want to finish it because it has ingrained itself so much into my life that always having a Wheel of Time book that I need to be moving on to, it just feels like a natural state of being. I think I have 3 more, maybe 4. I don't have them. I need to buy them in this because I'm getting this one edition. I'm trying to get them all the same, so I need to buy them, which is part of my rationale for not having continued in the last few months, because I do still very much enjoy it. I feel like the scope has got a little bit wider than what my brain can handle. And so I'm struggling a bit with that, but I trust the process, I guess. I definitely want to at least pick up, I'm gonna pick up the next book before the end of next year. If I wait that long, I'm doomed. Okay, this last one was kind of a random pick, but I read The Chronicles of the Black Company. This is actually bind up of books 1 through 3. I don't remember how many books there are in this series, but this set was a good set of 3. It really made sense. It came together really well, and you get a complete story arc in 1 through 3. So it kind of felt like, I feel like when I got done with this, I wasn't ready to pick up the next one because I had read 3 books in a row basically, and I had come to a finale in a sense, but I really enjoyed the world that was set up, the characters that were made. The Black Company is so dark. It's a good, I think it's grimdark. I don't really know if I can say for sure. I think it's grimdark, and I enjoyed it. So I would love to keep moving on in this series. I don't have the next book, and that's part of why I never think to go out and reach for this. I want to start prioritizing it. Category number 3 is an exciting one, and probably one that I honestly should not have on here because I have so many unfinished series, but this category is series I'd like to start. I mean, I have so many first books on these shelves, and I just love picking up the first book, and then for whatever reason, it just doesn't go past there. But these first books I have not picked up, and I'm dying to. Number 1 is Renegades by Marissa Meyer. I love Marissa Meyer. She wrote the Lunar Chronicles, which I adore. That is a series I did burn through. Renegades focuses on superheroes, which is a little bit different from me, and follows a main character called Nova. The cover has some really great artwork on it. I really love those like intense line styles. I've heard good things from people that have read this, and I feel like she's an author that for me is just a solid choice. Okay, Red Rising by Pierce Brown. I bought this back when it was just coming onto BookTube and really getting a lot of praise. I've heard great things. There are my friends that have read it, have enjoyed it, and for whatever reason, I just didn't pick it up when I had the chance, and then I got into other things, and it dropped off my priority list, so I'm putting it back on. I don't know much about this one. I think it follows a man who is enslaved on like a lower planet and wants to move up in the world and find out what happened to his wife, maybe. It's pretty small, so it feels a lot more manageable than some of the others. It's also a trilogy, so I feel like I could easily make progress on that if I just get myself going. Okay, this one I kind of want to pick up 50% for the beautiful cover, 50% for the assassin trope, which I enjoy. That's We Hunt the Flame. I know it has assassins. Other than that, I couldn't really tell you much. There's a war brewing. The purple's my favorite color. I remember people buying it, but not telling me how they felt about it is kind of where I'm at. So I'm definitely intrigued by it. I just want to know what this cover holds. This next book I picked up because the author is one I cannot stop hearing about, and that is The Grimdark King, Joe Abercrombie. The Blade itself, I don't know if grimdark is my thing. I feel like I've read a few, The Black Company and maybe some others, but I never know if it's actually true grimdark. So from what I hear, this is grimdark at its finest, and I want to see how this book and I get along. Am I going to enjoy it? Is it going to be too dark for me? I kind of want to find my level. Like, where is my limit with grimdark? And I feel like this author, this book is where I could find that potentially. This last one is another kind of random pick. I feel like it's been on my shelf for a while. I think it came out in 2019. So I just really need to get going on some of these books that have been sitting there. This is Blood Heir. It follows a royal on the run. Royals and I, great trope. I feel like it's a basic trope to love, but I love it nonetheless. I feel like a lot of my like wheelhouse tropes are basic. I love assassins, I love royals, I love enemies to lover, but it is what it is. I enjoy what I enjoy, and I'm hoping this book will just fit right in. I really love the dark art on the front. The back says, a princess with a deadly gift, a con man with no past and no future, an empire spiraling into chaos. So I feel like it's just a promising book that for whatever reason hasn't made it into my hands yet. Okay, the next category, I don't have most of these classics that I want to prioritize. I'm supposed to be getting through 200 before 40, and I don't want to get to, age 38 and 39 and be reading only classics to try and finish this out. So I chose 5. I'm not going to be able to tell you much about these, to be honest, because I have not looked up their synopsis and I don't own them. So this is going to be just kind of a short list, and you can let me know which one of these you have read and enjoyed. Maybe I'll know which one to start with. I have Another Country by James Baldwin. I feel like I've heard good things about the author James Baldwin and have not picked up anything by him, so I feel like that was an easy one to throw onto this list where I can feel confident that people enjoy this author. Book 2 is the only one I do have, Good Omens by Neil Gaiman and Terry Pratchett. I don't know how I haven't read this. It feels just incredibly up my alley, but for whatever reason, it kept getting, like, I've put it on TBR games before and just never got to it. So I'm gonna get to it now. In Cold Blood is one that's on my list. I've been listening to true crime. I don't like scary things and jump scares. Can't handle that, but for whatever reason, true crime, I'm very influenced by music. So as long as it doesn't have like spooky music in the background, I'm all about those podcasts. I feel like this is the start to some of that. Number 4 is Jonathan Livingston Seagull, which the name is so hilarious to me that I want to read it. And I've heard good things. I also had this on a TBR and someone mentioned that they enjoyed that book. So if I remember right, it's kind of a shorter one too, so that's a good bonus for me. And lastly is Grapes of Wrath by John Steinbeck. I just read East of Eden, which is like a 600-page book by that man, and I really enjoyed it. I didn't expect to. It's just one of those books where you're kind of following along with people's lives, which is not something I enjoy most of the time. I have to absolutely be invested in those characters, and East of Eden, I definitely was. That has me excited about reading another book written by him. The last category is just a random list, and this is one where I only have 4 books and then just kind of a book-related goal. Book number 1 is Priory of the Orange Tree. I'm reading this with Books MCD and Laura's Library Card. I've started, you can see my tab starting here. My goal is to read 100 pages a week, so it should take up December and January. I think my first impression is not quite as high as I thought it might be. There's still some like writing style that I'm getting used to, but the plot is one I'm interested in. Goal number 2 is to read a Warhammer book. My boyfriend has recently, maybe in the last year or so, gotten into Warhammer. He has a whole army of orcs. He paints the miniatures, he reads the books. So we have 4 or 5 Warhammer books maybe on our shelf. Some of them sound like they have really good plots. So this is one, I'm gonna let him kind of choose what he thinks I should read, where I should start if I decide to keep going in that universe, because I think there is so much literature. This one is called Titan Death. I love the cover. I know this is one that he enjoyed and is part of the Horus Heresy. I know enough about the universe just from, him kind of telling me as he's working through different hobbies and things that I have some background, but I'm interested to see how I feel about actually reading a book based in that universe. Goal number 3 is to read more romance, and more specifically Talia Hibbert as an author. I have read all 3 of the Brown Sister books, and I think I've read 2 more of hers. I have a lot of them saved on my audiobook wish list, and I just kind of want to work through her like backlog, because these were some of the best romance books I've ever read and I thoroughly enjoyed them. And I think I don't prioritize romance enough, considering I do really enjoy it. Book number 4 is called Vivin Song. This is a self-published book that the author actually sent me a request, so I have a digital copy of it, and it is the first person that's ever sent me a request, so it feels really exciting and a little bit daunting. I think this book comes out in February, so I'm gonna try and read it in January, and I'm super grateful and excited to almost feel like, okay, I'm starting to get a name for myself here, but also you have that fear of, what if this book isn't for me? What am I gonna say? If this is for me, how am I going to get everybody on board? How am I gonna help this author that's made this request? But I'm so excited to get it to this book and see what this is like. Okay, my last one is the bookish goal, and my goal is to pre-order more books, because now that I've been in the booktube sphere a little bit more, started listening to podcasts based on books, I realized how influential pre-ordering books can be for an author and how beneficial it is, how much it helps their growth, their sales, all of that kind of stuff. And so I really want to pay more attention to some of my favorite authors and see how can I support them. Do they have things coming out that I can pre-order and get my hands on right away? Because I feel like that would just be that next step in feeling like I'm really part of this community and something I'm excited about. So those are my goals. I listed, I think, 24 books that I want to get to this year, but you can definitely tell me down below which one do you think I should prioritize for the first part of the year, or even in January. What would you like to see? What would you like to see reviews on? And I hope that you are ready for 2023. I hope you have a great day, and I will see you all later. Bye, friends.